I sat with Neale at an MCC function towards the beginning of his fight with MND, and Brad Green was just coaching at Carlton. He was the guest speaker on the day, and Brad was asked to share a few words of advice that he might have taken from Neale that he's taking into his coaching career. And one of those words Greedy came up with was empathy. And Neale leaned over to me and goes, "Empathy? You must have been confused with fags." He let out then a very boisterous, very familiar, rollicking, fully engaged laugh that he reserved exclusively for his own jokes.
As a coach, his sense of team was always to the forefront. He was a man who put the collective team goal before individual pursuits and was the ultimate champion of the we before me mentality. He preached about the spectrum where selfish sits at one end and selfless at the other. He taught his players that nothing great can get done with selfish people. He was a storyteller and he was a motivator. The back of the bus is one of Neale's favourite metaphors about earning respect through hard work, resilience and actions. The very back seat of the bus was exclusively reserved for the most respected players or teams. Younger or less experienced players or teams sat in the front and had to earn their way back to the back. You did not get handed your place, you earned it with Neale. Neale loved the 2021 MFC Premiership success, publicly praising the team for making its way to the back seat of the bus.
He told us one day the story of the wildebeest and the antelope. The story was about a hunting pride of lions and the difference in the fight between the antelope and the wildebeest. In short, he said the lions crept up on the antelope, made their move, pounced, and the antelope just accepted his fate. He rolled over and was easy prey. Then it was the wildebeest's turn, but the pack of lions had a different opponent. This time the lions pounced, but the wildebeest didn't roll over. He kicked one of the lions in the guts, he chewed one's ear, he rolled in and bowled over one of them, and he goes, "Boys, in the end, the lions got the wildebeest." But the wildebeest went down fighting. He said, "I don't care if we lose, don't be an antelope, play like a wildebeest."
That story was from over 25 years ago, and it's because of hearing stories like this that the boys who played for Neale were not surprised in the way that he took on his fight with MND. Despite the challenges dished up to Neale, he didn't just lay down. He chose to fight with the spirit of the wildebeest. He said he would, he did, and we're in awe of not only what he's done, but how he's done it.
We know Neale was Australian of the Year, and in a very Aussie way, he had a strong sense of egalitarianism. It was we before me, and he did not like it if you try to get ahead of yourself in any way. Individual success was acknowledged, but only in Neale's special way. James remembers Neale calling him up one day to tell him that he made the All-Australian team, a pretty big individual honour. Neale said, "Junior, they must have made a mistake. You're in the All-Australian team." And then he let out a bellowing laugh, and James wasn't sure whether he'd actually made the team or Neale was just having a laugh with him. In the end, he gave James a quick congratulations and said, "Well done. But just remember, you started as a tagger, and All-Australian or not, you're tagging this week as well. Don't get ahead of yourself."
Or Jeff Farmer, the Wizard. In a Queen's birthday game, Neale dragged him after a poor first half, ripping his magnet off the board and throwing it out of the coach's box. He wouldn't be coming back on the ground for the rest of the day. Ben Beams broke his arm 5 minutes into the third quarter. Neale had no choice but to put the Wiz back on the ground. The Wiz ends up kicking 9 goals in the second half. The Wizard remembers the post-game review with the coach. He walked into Neale's office the next day with a bit of a strut. Perhaps an apology for the brutal half-time spray was coming his way. Maybe Neale would actually admit he got this one wrong. Sure enough, Neale was ready, and he had the highlight reel ready to go for the review. But not for the 9 second-half goals he kicked, but it was the 9 things he did wrong in the first half.
As skipper, I had a few meetings with Neale, some longer, thought-provoking ones, and some short and sharp ones. This particular meeting was during a period where we'd lost a few games in a row, and Neale set me on a mission to get a temperature check of the spirit of the group. So I got around to, Ooze, Nico, Robbo, Chal, a few of the boys, a few of the leaders, and I come back to Neale and say, mate, I think the boys are cooked. Everything's pretty intense, and I reckon we just need to ease the tension, maybe have a bit of fun during the week. Neale didn't say too much. He goes, thanks for the feedback, Big Nita. Let me think about it. I'll have something for the meeting. Well, the meeting rolls around, and I'm feeling pretty relaxed about things. And Neale comes in, he goes, bang. Gets the review going. What was that? Horrible performance. What is going on in this moment of the game? And he's got stuck right into us. And his tension's probably easing, and I'm sitting there absolutely internally fuming. We've just had this conversation, mate. What are you doing to me? This is not how things are supposed to pan out. After the meeting, I just storm out of this meeting room, straight to the gym. I need a few moments to compose myself, to confront Neale. And so I did. I finally walked in. I said, mate, what happened there? We just had this conversation and you've just gone and done exactly the opposite of what we said we're going to do. He looked at me and he goes, mate, you stick to playing, I'll stick to coaching. Pretty quick meeting, that one. And it's fair to say that he had a fired-up skipper ready to go for the next week.
Neale never missed a trick. I had my own quick flyby. I had a reasonable year in '98 and Brisbane showed a bit of interest in a trade. I was summoned to Neale's office in the off-season for a chat. Neale said to me, what do you reckon, Hoppy? I said, well, realistically, we're on the improve. I'm happy with my mates. I'd like to stay a one-club player. Waiting for Neale's reaction. He said, yep, that's good. We value you, get your body right. We still see some upside. Phew, perfect. I thought, this is okay. As the meeting ended and I got up to leave. On the way out of the meeting, as he opened the door, he said, hey Hoppy, just one thing. If they offer up a Voss, Ackermanis or Lappin, we might have to have a good look at it. 3 superstars for a little back pocket. And again, that trademark, raucous, boisterous cackle laugh came before the punchline had even been finished. A little bit of humour just to ease the tension.
As part of today, we reached out to guys across the whole spectrum of his coaching career. Neale, you wouldn't be all that surprised about the feedback, mate. It all centred around brutal honesty and also the annoying habit that you had of being pretty much spot on most of the time. There were plenty of sprays, but we don't have enough time for those up here today. So later we'll have a beer and a laugh and reminisce about the time when Andrew McLeod had 11 touches in a quarter. That's right, Wardy. 11! He could give a good spray, the man. And there are many stories where we thought we were about to send Neale into a cardiac arrest at some point.
Neale has sacked or dropped most of us, except his golden boy, Big Nita. And despite the direct feedback, we have a group of blokes who love and idolise the man. Clint Bizzle remembers a 2-page handwritten letter on the eve of his 150th game, reminding him of why he was so important to the team. Anthony Ingerson was told to believe he could become one of the top centre-half backs in the league and walked out of the meeting feeling inches taller. Guy Rigoni was given confidence and support that he was going to make it back up to top-level footy after a significant back surgery. And Jeff White remembers Neale crashing his Bucks party. Everyone went silent. Neale reached in the esky, cracked a beer and said, the party's just started, boys.
And in more recent years, beyond the footy field, it's fair to say that the bond between Neale and his era of boys only got stronger. Even when he lost his voice, he never lost his spot at the head of the table. He was the chairman of selectors for the long lunch team, selecting and even placing exactly where everyone was going to sit at the lunch, providing ongoing feedback. He set the key agenda items and made sure that the laugh was never too far away.
He wanted to make sure we all stayed together and supported each other post our footy days, always concerned with how everyone was and how their families were going. Neale wanted to catch up at one of our old Demons Run Walk Saturday morning sessions and gave me the heads up that it was his shout for breakfast. Fair to say, word got out and the participation rate for that week rose from around the average of 8 to over 30. Never did we have so much fun watching Nealo's face as he put his credit card over the counter. We finally got one up on him. We want to thank Jan, Loz, Luke, Beck and Ben for lending Neale to us for so long. He was committed to our gang and such a father figure and mentor for many of us. We've been privileged to become closer to you, the broader Daniher family, his friends, the wider M&D family, and we'd hate to say it, but we even now like a few of his old Essendon former teammates that he connected us with. We're immensely proud of the profound effect that Neale has had on so many in his fight against M&D, and we join with everybody across Australia to celebrate the extraordinary life of a national hero.
At the same time, there's a very personal hole that will be left for all of us in his group of old Demons. We say goodbye to a mate, our coach, and the conductor of connection that has sustained our group for 3 decades. Neale, we love you, we applaud you, we thank you, we will remember you often, and we will play on.
Thanks, Nita and Hoppy. Incredible memories. And just for the record, the Wizards' 9 goals were exactly 26 years ago today. Incredible.